Hi Chesscapers, I have an amazing game for you today at the Aimchess Cup that is being played right now. It's the round 5 between Magnus Carlsen and the American grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky, who's also a streamer. You should follow his channel, he's pretty amazing. And the game that I choose is a CaroCann defense, but an unusual variation with c5 very early. And also, like, there is a checkmate at the end. Magnus wins the game in a very amazing fashion. So I'll let you enjoy it and let's get to it. So it starts with e4, so the CaroCann, c6, d4, and d5. And now this is the advanced variation that white are playing. And usually here, black, let me show you for a second. Let's just flip the board. Usually here what we play as black, it's going to be, the main move is going to be bishop f5 here, because we want to play only e6 after this bishop is out, because otherwise we're just blocking it. So we play this, and they can play knight c3, they can play with h4. h4 is also like something like if you play e6, for instance, they play g4, and you totally lost the bishop already. So don't do this. Okay, so you have to be careful. When they play h4, it's like poisonous, honestly. Like, you have to be careful. Usually what I like to play is a move like a6. Why? Because when they play g4, I can just retreat. And then I play e6. And you're going to tell me, like, I mean, Riyadh, why would I play something like this? Like, why would I actually put my bishop on f5 and then actually come back? The reason why you do this is because by putting the bishop early on f5, he's damaging his structure by pushing. I mean, think about it. He cannot castle. He cannot castle short anymore. I mean, it's over, right? So he will have to have an attack that is convincing for him to win. So when you play a move like this, for instance, I mean, it's not easy because you can break the structure by playing moves like h5, for instance, at some point. Because now, I mean, what is he going to play? Knight c3, you play e6. What can he do? If he plays a move like f4, for instance, I mean, you could already play a move like h5. And after, if they take on h5, the point is to actually take this square with the knight here, right? You don't want to be playing e6 because now the bishop is at home. He didn't damage any of his structure, and it's just not good for you because he has all the advantage. But now, I mean, Daniel Naroditsky decided to play something different. And you're going to tell me again that's weird because he just played c6 and now he's playing c5. And you're going to tell me, like, why is he not playing the Sicilian defense actually by playing c5 on the first move? Okay, this move was played a lot by Morozevich. The difference is that you force this kind of pawn structure to actually wait and play the move c5. So now you have different ways to answer. You can play a move like c3. Okay, so after c5, let's go back to actually the game that was played. And now I'm flipping the board. After c5, Magnus decided to take. And now you play e6. The point is to open the bishop to take on c5. And now Magnus plays a move that is queen g4. Why? Because he wants to attack the pawn on g7. So obviously you cannot take on c5 because I'm taking on g7. And now knight d7, so he's saying, Daniel is saying, okay, I'm going to take with the knight instead. And I'm going to see how I can deal with this situation that I have a pressure on g7. Maybe one day, I mean, usually the plans here are to play with h5 and bother the queen, and then coming knight e7, knight f5. This is how you want to play here. So he played knight d7. There is nothing crazy there. And now Magnus is just, I mean, obviously, I mean, Magnus is going to play here in the game. I mean, honestly, this is where he's going to play, in this square. He's going to play mainly there and attack the king and just mate. 26 moves. It's a win in 26 moves. All right, so he developed his pieces. What is he doing? I mean, he's not doing something crazy. I mean, knight f3, bishop e2, castle, just normal chess. But he has an idea, and the idea is to move c4. And here, Naroditsky, I think, makes a mistake by taking on c4. I think he could have played different moves. I mean, h5 maybe could be played, and also bishop d7 could be played. There is a variation, like, if you play a move like bishop d7, I mean, take, and there is a variation that is complicated, but I don't know, maybe white can play something like bishop g5 here. And maybe he didn't like that. On bishop e7, what happens? Bishop e7, take, and now queen take. And what happens here? We are still guarding basically this pawn. I just don't see it. But okay, this pawn is really a target, so he's just going to play knight c3 and targeting this. I mean, black's position is already in trouble. It's quite weird to see black in such trouble already. This is not a good game. I mean, you can defend the pawn, but you know the rooks are going to be coming in the game, and still d5 is going to fall. It's going to be extremely hard. If you play a move like rook d8, for instance, maybe knight d4, maybe b4. Yeah, actually b4 is interesting here. You can play this b4, and the issue that you have here with black is that first you don't know where to put your pieces, and you don't have too many squares. So white have way more space. Also, the king here is still in the center. I castled. And if you put the king here, you're not going to be in an amazing situation still. The bishop one day will come here. You will have this kind of things. And maybe the rook will enter. It's not easy. It's not easy to play. I mean, here, first of all, where do you put the knight? You go on a6, and I just play a move like a3. Look at this. I mean, yeah, not great. So yeah, that's a tough situation for. I mean, even if he castles, white is much better here. He can just play a move like queen f4, for instance. One day play knight g5, or maybe one day play with a move like g4, for instance. And if he plays like h6 here, I mean, just g4, I think is extremely interesting already. Maybe knight h4, and now knight d4. And you see, like, it's like, honestly, like, the position is like cheese. There is a lot of squares everywhere. You know, like, coming on f5, this is going to be weak. The knight is on h4, and the knight is on a6. I mean, no good. No good at all. They need to recycle their pieces to the center of the board because they are more powerful, but I just don't know how to do it. Maybe knight b8 and trying to come on c6. So what he played, he takes on c4, rook d1. Now, this is going to be annoying in the game. Bishop d7. He could have played a move like queen b6. That could have been okay, and then maybe queen takes c4. That would have been fine. But, okay, bishop d7, take. Queen b6. The reason is, I mean, he wants to move the queen out of this pin that is extremely annoying. And now, knight c3, bishop e7, knight d4, and now h5. h5 is totally, I mean, he's played a lot in this kind of openings. And simply queen e2, knight take, bishop c6, and now bishop e3. I mean, he has to be careful and guard this kind of pin, obviously. But now he makes a mistake. I mean, the theme here for white is going to be what? Once you play a move like h5, I mean, it's going to be extremely hard to castle because I'm going to be grabbing the pawn on h5. I have a second thing. I have the d file. So I'm going to be playing rook d1, and I'm going to try to either control this kind of square, like on d6, for instance. And the other thing is that this square on b5 is very important, because if I manage to put an... losing my voice. If I manage to put a knight on b5 and arrive on d6, this is pretty amazing. And when you play a move like a5, now this square can never be controlled by a pawn. So on bishop e3, maybe the best move was to play a move like a6. But the position is already difficult. But I think a move like a6 makes much more sense. What Naroditsky didn't like, maybe, is a plan like rook b1 and playing b4. And he thought, okay, I'm just suffocating in this position. I'm going to have to move this knight, I don't know where, on d7, etc., etc. My king is in the center. I need to make sure that he doesn't push b4. And then he said, all right, so I need to play a5 to control b4. Yeah, I guess. Maybe something like this. Anyway, you went bishop e3, a5, rook d1, castle. And castle, obviously, is a sort of blunder here. I mean, I don't know exactly why he's castling here, because obviously you're just giving the pawn on h5, and he thought, okay, maybe he saw something here. But maybe a move like queen c7, trying to put pressure on e5. But then it's true, there is f4. There is f4. It's just extremely hard to play. Extremely hard. I just don't find any move for black here. Maybe I will play with g6 to control this, to avoid actually for you to push on f5. I just don't see it. And you see, like, knight b5. Remember, this was a mistake, a5. It just makes things much easier for Magnus. Because knight b5 is... if you have to take and take, and now king f8, position is really, really, really not great. I can play rook c4 and having a pin here. Maybe he plays with b6, but still the position is hard. I mean, I can already infiltrate the position by playing rook d7, for instance. You cannot take, otherwise I take the queen. So this is really, really not the dream position Naroditsky wanted to have against the world champion for sure. Anyway, so here he goes like this, queen take h5, and now he takes on b2, which again is not the best move, but don't forget they were playing 15 minutes per player game, and then 10 seconds increment per move. So each time that you, I mean, for each move, you get 10 seconds more on the clock. But here he's already totally lost. I mean, after take, I mean, rook g4, and now g6, because obviously, I mean, you don't have a choice. Bishop h6 is coming. Magnus missed the win here. He played a move like bishop h6, but he had a win by sacrificing the rook. Rook takes, and king h8, which is totally and now bishop takes c5. And if bishop takes c5, let me show you. He goes queen h6, king g8. Look at this. He goes like this. Bishop d3 is already checkmate. So yeah, but in the game this is not what has been played. After g6, but Magnus won in a beautiful way. So let me show you how it went. Bishop h6, and now he went bishop e8 because he wants to control against rook take g6. So now you cannot play rook take g6 anymore, but now there is knight d5. It's pretty amazing. He's just sacrificing the knight. But what it does is that by sacrificing the knight, if you take, bishop takes, now the diagonal is totally open, and this becomes a target. Look at this, knight d5, take, bishop take. And now it's true, because I was targeting something like queen take g6, because you cannot take because of the bishop. So queen take g6, that was the target here, followed by queen g7 is checkmate. So he plays this, he goes back on h3, rook h8, and now there is a win. There is a mate in 3. Try to find it. Try to find it. There is a mate in 3 that is pretty amazing. I mean, the mate here is beautiful, is bishop f8. Why? Because you want to control the fact that the king doesn't come on g7. This is the thing, because when he goes here, now rook take g6. You see how important it was to play the knight on d5. Everything is coordinated, is beautiful. Love it. And now the only move is just to take, and this is the end of the game, checkmate. I need to study this CaroCann c5 variation. I mean, I looked at few variations and doesn't seem, it's not too convincing. I played the CaroCann with black. I just don't find c5 very convincing. I think white have an easy game, but it's going to be the purpose of the next video. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And you know, comment and let me know if you think there is a variation against c5 straight away. The kind of variation that you think could work and that is the best for black. Let me know and I will make sure to answer to all your comments. All right, I hope you like this one and I'll see you on the next one.